All right, I got you some grapes and some water. Let's talk about this week because I'm really excited. It's hard to hold it back, okay? So this week was highly anticipated because I love high vibe energy. And so we're going over high vibe habits right now, right? So that exploration, especially after like going over low vibe habits, is so key to a balanced journey, right? If you're only focusing on the things that you want to change, you're not focusing on the things you've already changed and had such great progress in that we want to emphasize. And that's what this week is. So I also wanted to lay out just how this is going to look for next week a little bit, but we'll get to that. Back to the reading. So 5 was such a better chapter for this week than it was for last week. I really struggled with last week. And so reading it this week, I'm already starting to work on how I'm going to implement some of those intentional implementation strategies he talked about. There's a couple variants and I'll have them in the blog. But the other thing is he talks about in chapter 6 your environment, which I know about because when I work retail, we place things in places that people will buy them. And I started doing that around my house. Environmental design, I think he calls it. But really, it's domestic engineering. It already had a name, but that's what happens when you read a book by a man. No knocking men, but there are certain things that we've done around the house, mostly, to get things going. And it's already been done. So he just puts a name to it, which is really great. And so the thing is, I also think that's very dependent on if your environment is flexible enough to change. So he has this one thing. I was down with pretty much everything until he started talking about one space, one use. And that bothered me because my kitchen is used to create DIY skincare. It's used to create food. It's used to teach my toddler. If I were to just limit this to one use of cooking food, I also would get no work done. I would never do any learning. I am just not a person that can only use one space. I need to be able to creatively use all my space. But what I did like is that there are certain things you could not do in that space. For example, I try not to now scroll on my phone in bed. So other places I'll scroll, but in bed I do some work because I do creative work and my creative juices flow at night. So I do some work and then I also do hanging out with my family and bonding and learning and growing, but I don't scroll on social media. Pause. Crisis averted. Let's move on to what prompts we're looking at this week. So prompts are really focusing on bringing out that high vibe energy, how to see the high vibe energy in the world around us so that we can utilize that. Let's move because my toddler's driving me nuts. All right, are you comfortable here? Okay. So this week, our prompts are going to really look at how to find our high vibe energies that also help work within the low vibe energies to raise them. So we kind of want to pair here. We're going to make frenzies and the besties are going to raise each other up. All right. We're no low vibes here. We're going to work through things. And so that being the case, our prompts are going to do the similar exploration to what we did last week. So they're going to be asking similar questions just of our high vibe energy. And what this is going to do for us and what it's been doing for me is that I can kind of see which high vibe habits are best suited for what challenges I need to overcome in the future. That brings us to the challenge, okay? So we're going to be in the next couple weeks. We have this week of high vibe energy. Next week, we are setting intentions to tackle a low vibe energy habit. So in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be coming here and I'm going to be talking to you about what habit you want to break. So next week, we're deciding the habit we want to break and we're coming up with a plan. But not only are we breaking a habit, we're selecting 2 habits from this week to build up, okay? So your low vibe energy is going to be raised to mid vibe energy. And then that second high vibe habit that we have is going to really accelerate it, is what I'm thinking is going to happen, and usually how I approach my habit changes. So I'm going to show you an example of this, I guess, tell you actually, and I'll just lay it out, okay? But one second, I'll be right back. Okay, sorry. I am going to be telling you how this process is going to work in my head, okay? So, laid out, I have the thought process behind when I quit smoking cigarettes, okay? So, first of all, I already did a lot of the groundwork without knowing about the groundwork, so I was just realizing I don't want to keep doing this habit. It's really affecting my health. It's lowering my energy. I'm done with this. So, I educated myself onto how the process worked. You know, what does it take when you're going through a withdrawal? You know, what would that mean for me? What do I need to be prepared for? And because I did all this background work, I knew that when I got sick for 3 days at the end of 2019, that the nicotine was out of my body, okay? So it was all in my head. So I knew that it wasn't a bodily need. It was in my head, and I could overcome that, and I knew it. I had the motivation, and I was given an opportunity, okay? The universe heard me, and its abundance gave me some opportunity. The other way that the universe gave me an opportunity is this sickness happened right after we moved here. So I had no habit in my environment, which is what he talks about in chapter 6, James Clear. I had no habit in my environment to do that, right? I didn't have a place in my yard that I had smoked 3 cigarettes at this house, and it was in each different spot. So I was trying to find my groove. Also, we moved, so my car trip to work was different, right? The job wasn't different. It was just a different trip. So I knew that during my lunchtime, if I just stayed inside and maybe ate food or something instead of just drinking a Monster and having a cigarette, I would be able to kind of break this habit. And I was able to. I quit cold turkey. But I also, thinking back to that, had a reward. So for every pack of cigarettes that I did not smoke, I thought about what is something that I really wanted to do that cigarettes stopped me. And that was sprays, because I hated the way people smelled when they just masked cigarettes with perfume. And the other thing was lipstick. Wanted to wear lipstick, and I didn't because, you know, the constant touching just made it look funny, and I am not into my appearance that much to keep updating. So those two things are what I really utilized. I said, for every pack of cigarettes, I'm going to do this. But then not only that, I love learning. So the other thing I did was downloaded an app that told me, I think it was called Quit with a K. It told me, you haven't been smoking this many days, this many hours. This is what's happening to you. So every time I wanted a cigarette, I would go in there and I would learn how my body was improving, right? I was improving my vessel. So using that, we are going to do that this week. We're going to start. You already started changing your habits. So we are going to move into starting to implement that in 2 weeks. Okay. So next week, we're going to tie it all together and come up with our intentional plan. What habit are you breaking, and what 2 habits are you using to build up yourself from breaking that habit? We're going to raise our vibration together. It's going to be a team effort because we're going to be here for each other, right? Right? Okay, so you can stay and hang out, but I have some chores to do before we go hang out and have a play date. I hope everyone has a happy healing week. And if you need anything, just holler at me because I am here to help. So let's get ready and figure out what high vibe energy we're going to keep bringing to really raise the stakes. I saw a billboard for that. It was super funny. Raise the stakes, and it was a steakhouse. Okay, bye.